Hello. Can you probably put the camera a little bit up? That's it. Good evening, everyone. So, welcome to our Thursday evening talk series, which we Wisdom in Action. And today we have a very special topic that we will take a deep dive into. And the topic is God beyond religion, understanding the supreme soul. So, there's a very beautiful poem that's also available on YouTube, but we thought this could be a nice starting point for all of us today. So let me just recite it, and that could give you some insights, and then we could take the discussion further. The poem is by Charan Gill. The Hindu says, to the mandir come, and to the idols you should pray. The Buddhist needs no statues, saying meditation will save the day. The Christian cries, just follow Christ, forget you all the rest. Forget the mandir and the mosque, for the chapel is the best. And the mullah shouts from the minarets high, the mosque will save you when you die. And the rabbi in a synagogue has different ideas of the perfect God. Each and every other man claims intimate knowledge of God's master plan. I don't know who I should believe or which way I should turn, because they tell me all these different things and then say God is one. Some say, shave your head and face, grow long hair if you dare. Some say, never cut the 6 long blessed hair. Some wear white for purity, for others green is best. Some look east to talk with God, while some fear south or west. Some say, don't drink alcohol, but wine is the devil's device. But some say, come and drink with me, is the sacred blood of Christ. Some say, eat kosher or halal, otherwise you will send. And let the animal bleed to death, but pray for it as you begin. Some say, never eat the flesh of another soul with pride. God takes care of all your needs, and nature will provide. I don't know what to eat or where, or which way I should turn. They tell me all these different things, and then say, God is one. I asked some wise religious men, what happens when I die? What happens when my time is up? My children left to cry? I know that they will burn my corpse, but what about my soul? Will it stay down here on earth, or is it a heavenly goal? Where is hell and where is heaven? And where does God reside? Who will judge my long life's sins? My fate, who will decide? The priest says he will read my rights, and all will then be well. God will take me in his care, and I won't burn in hell. And the Judas says, I will be placed in a coffin and a family crypt. I'll then await for judgment day, and the Messiah will have his script. The Hindu and the Buddhist claim the children need not cry. Reincarnation is the only way, and I will never die. I just don't know who to believe or which way I should turn. They tell me all these different things and then say God is one. But then God sent an angel, her sari white like snow. She pointed me to my inner self, saying that's where I must go. She knew I wandered all day long, quite often lost in thought. She said, I'd soon discover what I am and what I'm not. Forget the human labels designed to make men blind. The Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Sikh are brothers intertwined. And when men say that God is one, she said, I find it's true. Once I reach my Madhuban, high up in Mount Abu. Thank you. So that's a very lovely poem, I find. If you have any thoughts just by that, you feel free to share. Open your mic, open your videos too. And we'll do it in a bit of a different format today. So we have Sister Kanupriya and we have Brother Michael, and we'll do it in a question-answer format. So some newness. So hope you take away a lot from this session, from this talk, and whatever little bit we can take away, the idea is that we put it into action and make use of this series. So very warm welcome once again.
Chal, for reciting such a beautiful poem, and the recitation itself was very, very inspiring because we could see how you were feeling it when you were saying it, when you were reciting. And it really brings me to my childhood days when I was brought up, of course, in the Hindu, what we call the Hindu religion, and in this one room where where we offered our prayers in the house and things like that, or even the temples that we went to, there were not one, there were several statues that we were praying to, or pictures we were praying to. And I always wondered, why there are so many of them. We call them deities. But then over a period of time, as I grew up, I figured that, a particular deity is for a particular task or job. Like if you needed courage, then you went to a particular one. If you wanted wealth, then you went to another one, and you prayed, as in, right? So it seemed that everybody had very limited or very specific task as such. But then that didn't really satisfy, because what you really want, or at least for me, and I believe for most of us, is this peace and happiness that you want every time. Whether you have money or you don't have money, you want peace and happiness first. And who do we go to then? Right? So which one? Because everybody, all the deities did offer peace and happiness. And then what do we do? So that led to a search to more spiritual organizations. And then when I was introduced to the Brahma Kumaris, and I came across this thought, or this idea that God is point of light, what you see here, right? This point of light. That God is point of light. He's incorporeal. He's invisible. And we are His children, also living conscient beings, points of light. That sort of made a lot of sense to me, because then I could say that, it's not a deity from this religion, or some statue from another religion, or some other concept that nobody else could relate to. But this point of light can be the Father or God, what we say, for everyone, because each one of us is a point of light, and that's who our Father is, the Supreme Soul is. So that was about my understanding from earlier days. Brother Michael, would you like to share what was your understanding of God, and now how it changed?
Om Shanti, sister. How are you? What struck me was I was born here, not that far from here, and you were born, right?
Thousands of miles
Thousands
away.
and thousands of miles away, and but our experience, especially when you're young, you're born into in this case, religious family.
Yes.
So you follow, and that's good because at least it gives you some kind of moral compass to go by. I mean, it definitely serves a purpose, but it was funny, thousands of miles away, and we also had specific saints that we called them that you would for different tasks,
Okay.
like even if you lost the car keys.
Oh, lost car keys.
Oh, yeah. Or if you lost anything, but usually it's your car keys that you would pray to this certain saint. His name was Anthony, and even my parents.
Did he lose keys too? And found them.
and my parents even when not that long ago they were selling their house, older in age, and their belief was if you bury one particular statue upside down in the front yard, you'll sell your house faster. So when you look back, they're so similar, but they're also, it goes a lot deeper. It goes a lot deeper than that. And I think myself, I got to a certain point in my life where I kind of drifted away from the ceremonial type of aspects of the religion, and then I just slowly, it wasn't fulfilling me for what I needed, But I never stopped believing in God, and even though at that time, it was my interpretation of God, and more or less, unfortunately, but it's a part of the growing, is I called on God more or less when I needed something, like your own personal 911. You know what I mean? I mean, I probably out of every 10 times that I sat and spoke with God, probably 8 or 9 were things I needed help with.
So just a brief background about Brother Michael. So he was a fireman before, so he knows what 911 means.
Yeah. Yeah, help. Sure enough.
So your personal 911.
Yeah, and then I had this idea that I would find it eventually, find what I was looking for. And I'm not really just saying this for the microphone or for tonight's session. When I said I was searching, I literally went around the world searching, I joined the Merchant Marine, and I said, well, I'll just travel all around the world and keep going. And when I find it, I'll know it. And then I'll get off the ship and I'll just stay there. That was the thought process. I was 19, I guess 20, And yeah, I never did find it in that sense. I never said, oh, here it is, I ended up coming back here. Kind of like it was like a failed experiment, And as life progresses.
So did you finally find it? And where?
Yeah, believe it or not, in it was partly because of 9/11 and maybe some other things, but I was seeing a lot of doctors at the time, and they were just giving me medication which I didn't want. And one particular doctor, I was exasperated, and I went in with all my records, and he gave me a phone number to call, and I called, and I went, I knocked on the door, and I just said, "Can you help me?" That's not something men usually say. So I say, that's the day I lost my ego. And she said, "Sure." She goes, "Sure, I can." And sure enough, she did. Sure enough,
So
she
the
did.
woman in the white sari that came in the poem too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, I was sincere in my search. I was sincere. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got on a ship for a couple of years and physically went all around the world. But I was sincere in my search, and I think there was a guiding force that pushed me to this doctor who I literally hadn't seen in 20 years. And he pointed me in another direction. And a month or two later, Sister Shivani, who's one of our spiritual leaders, and she was making her first visit to New York. It was right at that, all in the conjunction of time. And I emailed the place, and they emailed me back, and they said, "Sorry, we're sold out." And the next day I got an email saying, "We have one ticket, would you like it?" And I just love that, because the brother who sent it, he didn't know me, because I've never been involved just with this one sister. I wasn't traveling around, or he just took a little time and said, "I have a ticket, would you like it?" And then when I drove there, that was a summer night, it was like 85 degrees, beautiful, and I seen everybody in white across the street, and there was a real attraction, something, made me park the car and go inside. And then that's when the journey started of, okay, point of light, or I like to say Father, many titles, ocean, right? Ocean of love, ocean of peace, ocean of knowledge. He's all of those things, But like I said, I think because I was searching with a certain degree of sincerity, like I know I'll find it, I just didn't find it yet, right? I was always open to the possibility, and then it did, it did. It blossomed from there, because, then I started getting more involved in the 7-day course, and then the teachings and the coming. And the Manhattan Center was a big part back in the early days.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So what I'm hearing is, for both of us, that perspective that God cannot be limited, right, for particular things, but more holistic or unlimited in that way, because He's the ocean of everything.
Right.
And that we are calling out for, that we are searching for. And that also happens, I think, because God is truth. So something that is true is never changing, and he sort of holds that bigger map or perspective that we are looking for, and because he holds that higher perspective, he helps us also to be in that higher perspective if we connect with Him in the true way. And the way I connected with Him, and many of us I see do connect with Him, was based on fear earlier. That, if you didn't do something, then, this would happen, and hence, better connect with God, so that, or whatever understanding of God that was. But now that whole perspective has changed 180 degrees, because if God is our Father, like you mentioned, right? He's our Father. If He's the Father, then we should not be scared of Him. There has to be only love, and love that, just like any good parents have, unconditional love, selfless love, no fear. And that is something that I really found very different, that, here we were connecting with God in a very personal way. Yeah, like you mentioned 911, personal 911, but not just 911. You could connect with Him for everything, not just when you needed help, or when you were scared, or you were just connecting with Him because you wanted to avoid something that you were afraid of.
Right.
But you were connecting with Him just for friendship, just for companionship, just for a good relationship, right? And that sort of changed the whole perspective, that yes, he is a higher being, but then we could have a very personal relationship based on just love, pure love, unconditional love, selfless love, that altruistic. Actually, he doesn't need anything from us, but he's there to give us everything. And they say son shows father, or the child shows the parents. So we can become like Him if we connect with Him, and that is something that I had never fathomed in my dream as well, that we could become like God, because He was always high up there on the pedestal, and we were like, sort of beggars that give me this, give me that. But then now, with the understanding what Brahma Kumaris gives us about God, we understand that no, we are like Him, very much like Him in everything that He has, all the powers that He has. We are exactly like Him. We can love like Him. We can be peaceful like Him. We can hold that clarity. And that is a revelation for me. Even now, it's a discovery still that needs more depth. And but yes, it did help me overcome the fear that that I held while connecting with God earlier. So what was your journey like after you went to Sister Shivani's program, and did you find God there?
Yeah, it was quite, even from the most simple, like, she asked at the very end, very quietly, in front of a few thousand people, to drive home with no radio on. Just drive home tonight, just tonight, in silence. And I am a notoriously bad listener. If you say white, I say black. If you say right, I say left. And the old me, right? The old me. No, I got to drive like an hour across 84. I'll compromise. I'll put soft music on.
Not radio, but soft music.
Just something like meditation music even, right? The radio never went on the whole ride home. And that might seem like, well, that's like, well, that's kind of a cute story. But for me, it had a lot of meaning, because I would have always done what Michael wants to do, And to drive home, that was probably maybe, I'm thinking of it now, maybe that was my first experience with silence. Especially growing up here. from my earliest childhood memory. I just remember walking outside and everything was so loud, and everybody was yelling and screaming, and just the world in general, everything was moving so fast. And then when do you, in this world, especially now with cell phones and computers, when do you get to sit there? And one thing I have this book, it's really fun to look at. It's quotes from Einstein. And Albert Einstein said, when I think of a solution, I could think and think, nothing. He said, when I sit in silence, I always find the answer, So maybe that night driving home was my first experience with true silence. Like, not silence like nothing was actually playing, which it wasn't, but silence where I'm not thinking. I was thinking about the experience I just had. I wasn't thinking about work tomorrow. I wasn't thinking about the mortgage or the kids or the house, I was thinking about what just happened. What were those little jewels that, why do I feel so good right now? Like, all of that happened in silence, And later on, that's, like they say, religion, right? We were talking about religion, and religion is you talking to God, and spirituality is God talking to you, right? And that really hit me because I was like, you know what, and it was hard at first. It's not easy. Especially in this culture, we're not used to sitting quietly. And, the first time, 5 minutes, and then 7 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and then now 30 minutes, like in the morning, you're actually looking forward to it because it's just you and the Father, and there's nothing else happening. And like a lot of people say, I'm sure you've heard it, Sister.
You mean in the meditation?
Right. Like, I tried meditating, I can't. I can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. Well, you have you have to practice. I mean, even if it's 1 minute, then okay. Then tomorrow maybe a minute and a half. Then 3 minutes. But the worst thing I think we can do is give up on what we know is right. We know, innately we know. There's something in us. Like, there was something in me that pulled me across the street to the first spiritual gathering. And then to be inside and feel like I belong. Like, I don't know one person here, but I feel like I belong. And that's just something. If you can experience that, that's a real blessing. That's a real blessing. Yeah.
Like part of the family, and you already know, as if
yeah.
and you never met, but I also liked what you were sharing about, you, for the first time, you actually listened to what was being shared or what was being requested of you to do.
Right.
And many times I find that we call out, or we are searching for God, and even if we get a slightest hint that there may be God around, sometimes we don't listen to what is being heard, and that takes us further away. And of course, silence helps to connect, because we can hear this invisible being. We can catch, what his thoughts are, or what he would like to tell us in that silence. But also it reminds me of a very funny story. Can I share?
Sure.
So it's a story where a man is actually walking towards a cliff, and he slips and he actually falls down the cliff. And when he falls down the cliff, he's falling down and he's like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? So he somehow gets hold of a branch of a tree when he's falling down. And now he's holding on to that branch, and his dear life, right? So he's calling out, for help. Is there someone there to help? No answer. For a few hours he kept calling, nobody came. And that was a very isolated place. And then finally he thought of God. He said, oh, there's nobody, no human being that is coming near. It's been hours and I can't stay on like this, so let me try God now, right? Like God is always the last option, isn't it? Yeah. So God is the last option. He called out, God, please help me. I've been stuck here for so long and I really want to get out of this trouble that I've gotten myself, this situation that I've gotten myself into. And you know what? God came, right? He heard. He cannot ignore his child, dear child, but he wants us to look for him. So he came and he says, okay, I can get you out, but can you promise me you will do what I will tell you? Yes, I will do anything. Yeah, just get me out of here. Whatever you tell me, I will do. And then God says, well, in that case, just let go of the branch. And there was a long pause. And then he said, is anyone there? And anyone else there? No. So, no. So he had no other option, right? He was like, okay, let me try. And he let go. And he discovered that the ground was just 2 feet away. It was the bushes that was hiding the ground. And but God has a higher perspective, right? He can see the big picture. He could see from the top. He could see that the branch and where he's hanging, this child of his is hanging, ground is 2 feet away.
Right.
So we have to trust God and listen to God. That is always in our benefit. That God will always do the best for us, want the best for us, and will want to make sure that we are happy. And once the ground was discovered by this man, then he could come back again on the branch and then go back on the ground and play with the branches and then go back on the ground. So he could enjoy both, you know. So that's what I think true God or truth, God who's truth, can do if he can tell us what to do and we can follow. So that is something that I remembered. I wanted to share about God, that he holds that higher perspective. Sometimes our perspective becomes very limited. So to have that conviction that yes, he knows better than us.
Yeah. And wants
The best also for us.
Right.
So do you also feel the same? Because many times we are facing many challenges, isn't it? And it's difficult to trust God, right? Especially if you tell me that he's invisible, I can't hear him, I can't, touch him, I cannot see him.
Right.
Then is it easy? How do you deal with challenges with that trust?
I guess probably the biggest thing is, because I guess you could tie them all together, faith and trust. They all they come from the same root. One thing, it was a real life experience, right? Was that my son, right? Let's see if I can put this right. He was probably the only person that I wanted to see do better than me. You know what I mean? That probably sounds terrible.
There was someone that you loved so much.
All my friends, and I wanted them to do well. I wanted them to do well, be happy, peaceful, joyful, blissful. That's fine, But to actually do better than me, I had to experience with my own child, right? So I like to take that concept, and that is what the Supreme Soul, our Father, wants for me and you. He wants us to be like Him. You know what I mean? And that is really true love. that is pure. That's at its purest state. That this is what the Father wants for me, you know. And I have to put the work in, you know, at times. One thing I actually do, I don't know if anybody else has ever, you know, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, like you say. I developed this thing where, did you ever hear of the James Webb telescope? If you go online and they have the pictures, some of them are called like pillars of creation. When you look at that, and you can't believe in, you have to believe in the divine to see these structures that we can't see with the naked eye, but they're out there. So that ties into the, you know, you can't see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there. And look how beautiful these structures are. And if you start getting even a little bit more into it, like, you know, everything is, it looks like chaos, but it's perfectly orderly, you know? So and sometimes when my own life looks like chaos, you know, I got this over here, and then I got this over here, and I got this over here, and there's only a couple of days, you know, left, and I just, you know, like you said, you know, you have to take the helicopter view and say, all right, this is necessary. I got to do that. This is necessary. You know, it's just life, right? But is it absolutely necessary? What's absolutely necessary? For me, it's to get up at 4:30 in the morning right now when everybody's quiet and just sit in the solitude. So I have to take care of what's absolutely necessary. And then morning class, absolutely necessary. And then, yeah, you have to take care of your, you know, the human things and things that pop up, but don't forget to take care of the thing that's absolutely necessary, which is your relationship with the Father, because at the end, that's all we have. All this is going to be gone. It's so temporary, you know? And I lived a large part of my life, like 56 years, never given that a thought. Like, all this is temporary. It was always go, 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 work, 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 without ever saying, you know what? The body is temporary, but the soul is eternal. So maybe Mr. Michael should start nurturing the soul and kind of leaving the body consciousness and concentrate on, you know, sowing the seeds, you know, hopefully of love, you know, and then continuing to grow inside the organization, you know. That's the hope.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, and you know, you were saying that he wants us to do better than him, and many times, or sometimes. We want others to do better than us, but we are very strict about it, or we are not so affectionate about it, or you know, loving about it. But what I find with this Supreme Soul or this Father is that there is love, no matter what you do, and that sort of becomes a very big pull to change or to become what he wants us to become.
Right.
And you know, I have an aunt who you know, no matter what you do, she will always express her love for you. And you know, so then the thought comes that, okay, let me just do what she's asking to do, right? Because I don't want to, you know, disregard her or disrespect her by not doing.
Sure.
And in that doing, there is no feeling of sacrifice, or you know, no feeling of, oh, why am I doing this? But there is, from me also, it is coming out of love, because I know that she will love me no matter what, whether I do it or not. And that sort of freedom helps me do the best or bring out the best in myself. Right? And that is so true for the Supreme Father, that he wants us to become like Him, to be our best, to be better than Him. But the tool and the method is love,
Right.
that unconditional love.
That unconditional, right.
And that is like a safety net, you can always go to Him. Even if you make mistakes or whatever, you can still know that yes, He will always be there
Right.
to love you.
Right.
And next time you will make sure, at least that works for me, that no, I will not do that mistake again.
Right.
Right?
Right. Right.
So that is such a blessing, I would say,
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
someone like that. Yeah, so you were also mentioning about your relationship with God. So is it always that you connect with God as a father, or there are some other kind of relationships that you...
I, Ocean of Knowledge is one of his first titles here in the Brahma Kumaris, So if I'm going to say it and believe it, when things happen, just learn patience, because it might seem like a really bad thing right now, but it might turn out for your best.
future.
Yeah, for your best. So, even some things might be tragic. Might be tragic, That, I would say, is like the definition of a deep faith, not like a surface type faith, like to really trust that the Father is guiding you where you need to be, And that doesn't, well, maybe for some people, but it doesn't develop like that. It's gradually over time, gradually over time. Like one example I give. Do we have a little time still?
Yeah, we have
Okay.
15 minutes, enough time.
Like my wife is not from this country, right? So I had just finished working on the ships and whatnot, and so I was here, and she had come here, and we met here in Manhattan, and we were just friends, and what had happened was her father passed away tragically, and that must have been really tough on a 16-year-old girl, the youngest of the, and in those countries it's a little different than here. There's no safety net. Like if you don't work, you're not going to eat, right? So she came here at a very young age, and that must have been, say, traumatic, right, for her to lose her father. And they were okay where they were. They weren't like, there was no plan to come here. They didn't need to come here. They were fine. And next thing you know, it was such a tragedy, but like born out of that tragedy, then we met. And then my daughter came, then my son came, then my 3 granddaughters came. So out of that event, which is seemingly so incredibly tragic, like new life was born. So I always think back to that if I'm having a little bit of a struggle or an issue, saying, take a deep breath, what might not seem, a very good or very, very, very challenging and emotional, at the end of the day, there could be that rainbow waiting, and like, so all of those things had to happen, like a big chain of events. So now instead of me like trying to figure out every link in the chain, I just give it to the Supreme and just try to do the best I can in the meantime.
Yeah, so beautiful. Actually, you're giving an example of the higher perspective that he holds, right?
Yeah.
And he knows that, yes, everything is for the benefit. if we cling on to the branch, we feel, oh, what will happen to me? This is
Yes.
tragic. This is traumatic.
Right.
This is
Right.
not best for me to let
Sure.
go. But then the one who can see,
Right.
and you just have to trust him. And such a beautiful example. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I didn't really put that together. Like, you don't really sit around and analyze your life. But when I came here, and then I spent time breathing, not thinking anything but the purest of thoughts, and then how, if we can just look at it from another perspective, a higher point of view, and trust in the outcome, I was very outcome oriented. I think maybe that's common for people. Like, if it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen,
Yeah.
I became very unhappy.
Yes.
So basically, all my power was given to the outside. Everybody had the power over my emotions. Like, if he said something to me, or not even maybe I think he said something to me. It doesn't have to be true.
I heard it.
I heard it, So when I started to get, and that was mentioned in the poem, right, brother?
Yeah.
To go inside? Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about when you read the poem. Like, when I started, and COVID kind of helped, believe it or not, a little bit, because everybody was forced to go inside, and some people were absolutely not doing well with that,
Yeah.
But I tried myself to, like, use that time constructively, you know what I mean? But so I didn't, like COVID, it's COVID. I'm like, well, maybe we should be inside for a while, take a little break,
So that's nice that like you were sharing, he's the ocean of knowledge. So as a teacher also you connect with him, that he can give you some kind of higher perspective and better understanding of what's happening around. And that's a big boon for all of us, because today's condition many times I see is we trust Google more. Right? And we have learned to not trust God in whatever we believe God is. And Google brings a lot of good things for us, or any search engine. But then it also has contradictions, right? So if you ask a particular question, you'll get at least 1,000 opinions. One saying one thing, another one saying completely opposite, and you don't know what to trust, right?
No.
And whereas if God is truth, the Supreme Being is truth, then that truth never changes, and then you also are able to trust that truth because it never changes.
Right.
And that is such a big lesson for me, that it is easy to trust something that is imperishable, not changing, right? And that somebody holds that truth all the time, that you don't have to really go to Google, right? There is logic, and there is some sort of reason behind why what is happening. And that reason can be understood if we understand God as He is, who He is, what He does, what time it is right now. And I really feel that this is the time. At this time, we can feel God's presence more, and we have help from Him in order to uplift ourselves back to our original state, back to where He wants us to be. To that better self of ourselves, and to our highest potential. So that element of truth in God, and that He's constantly there, right? That also helps me a lot to connect with Him. And something that I hold very dearly, that I was searching for truth actually And at one point in my life, I was saying to myself, in a very distressed manner, that, God, if you are there, then where are you? And that's where the very next week, somehow I got some information about the Brahma Kumaris, and I went to the first center. And it made a lot of sense in the way that the environment of the center was, right? So that silent atmosphere, that loveful atmosphere. Although I must say that I didn't understand too much of what they were talking for many years, but it's the experience, right?
Yeah,
So if God is invisible,
Right.
then he definitely, but he's a living conscient being, right? So he definitely can be experienced.
Right.
And if we look for him in something physical or something that we can, touch, see, feel, then we sort of somehow block that very subtle energy that he brings about. And with meditation, with Raj Yoga meditation, I learned to untap that, the subtleness of God, and how to connect with him in that subtle
Right.
manner.
Right.
And that helps to understand and to also feel his love, to feel his presence,
Right.
to receive guidance from him. So all relationships with God can be experienced is my own experiment that I keep doing, that every relationship
Right.
can be built, or we can have a very close relationship with God in every way that we would like to connect with another human being.
Right.
And because he's the highest and he's full, he doesn't need anything from us, right?
Right.
Most of our relationships are, or even with God, our relationships earlier was very transactional, right? You do this, then I do. I pray
Oh,
so much,
absolutely.
then I do. but now true God is very, altruistic,
Yeah,
because
yeah. Right.
he's not wanting anything from us, for sure. And when we connect with that selfless sort of love, then we can experience all relationships. And what I've also observed is, when we connect in a relationship that we find difficult, right, dealing with some difficult relationship in our lives, and we make God, for example, if I'm facing a difficulty with my child, for example, or with my employer. This actually happened, that my employer was a very difficult, it was a bit difficult to work with him.
Right.
And he would say things that he's not supposed to say. And I never understood why, right? And that would make me very upset. So I made God my boss, right? To overcome that, because I couldn't figure out how to deal with this person. So when I made God my boss, it sort of, he became the ideal boss. God is ideal in
Right.
his relationships. So then the expectations from this work boss were negligible or nothing, right? Because whatever I wanted from a good boss, I was getting from God. And then the relationship with this work boss also changed, because I stopped getting upset. His behavior also, slowly, it took years, slowly he also started changing his behavior towards
Right,
me.
right.
So it sort of, I think, helps us fill in the gaps that we have, or the holes we have in our heart in a
Sure.
particular relationship, if we connect with God in that relationship. And then when we actually deal with that difficult person, then we go with a clean slate, and
Yeah.
we are not expecting anything out of them. And that relationship improves. It becomes stronger, better, much
And-
better,
yeah, yeah.
much sweeter. So
And based on truth.
based on truth.
Based on truth,
Yeah.
like you said,
So that is something that I have
Right.
um, sort of learned from God how
Yeah,
to
yeah,
bring,
yeah.
how to build relationships in the world, but that comes from really
Yeah.
connecting with Him.
I heard Sister Shivani speaking in very similar topic. Um, usually at work, you have somebody that you don't actually, you kind of clash with, And she said, in that situation, I'm paraphrasing, like, you have three choices. You could either reflect it back to them, right? Which, that's going to turn out not so good because they're going to, and then back and
Same
forth.
energy back.
Or you could absorb it, which is like to internalize it, and then just carry that all day. And I was like, that's me. So I was thinking to myself, well, what's the third option? Because the first two they're not working for me. But the third option was, like you said, Sister, to change the energy. Just change the energy. And when you change the energy, magic happens, magic happens.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to happen if you absorb it or reflect it,
Yeah.
Then that's not truth or loving. That's just not having a full understanding of what soul conscious is, But to everybody out there, don't be afraid, because you slowly study this. It's a slow, gradual, oh, okay. I get that now. I didn't get it before, but now I get it, So, when people hear these concepts, they might think, oh, it's going to take so long. It only takes a second to change your thought, It only takes a second to say, let me get out of this physical world for a little while and just give my brain a break and just sit in silence. And that's magical.
Yeah.
Being able to sit in silence and be in total peace, It takes practice, but it's the way. It's the way.
Yeah. So beautiful. So we are almost on time. Maybe we can give few minutes if anybody has any questions online. You can type on chat or you can unmute yourself. In the meanwhile, this memorial about how God is light is there in all the religions, and we have a nice picture which we can show. That God is remembered as a point of light in many religions. And somehow we learned to ignore that, right? And came to this understanding that God is some human form or in the nature or whatever, and that God is everywhere. We are like Him, but He is not everywhere, for sure. So this is something that we can look at. It's a nice image with all the religions. Yeah, can you make it bigger, because I can't read it, or you can read it for us? I'll try. You can correct me if I go off track. Yeah. So I'll start with Judaism. The Lord is my light. Whom shall I fear? Right? That's what in the Psalms it is said. In Islam it says Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. In the Holy Quran it says this. In Jainism, all men should be in peace with their fellow, should live in peace with their fellow beings. This is the Lord's desire, right? So, meaning to say we all are. equal and brothers. And then in Buddhism, the radiance of Buddha shines ceaselessly, right? So again, something to do with light. In the African faiths, God is the sun beaming light everywhere. And then Christianity, I have come into the world as light. In the Holy Bible, it says, and in the Native American faiths, it says, the light of Wakan, Tanika, is upon my people. Okay. And then in Hinduism, in the effulgent lotus of the heart dwells Brahma, the light of lights. In Taoism, following the light, the sage takes care of all. And Sikhism, God being truth is the one light of all. So, isn't that beautiful? That the universal light is actually referred and remembered in all the religions. It's the common thread. Yeah. Okay. So, any final thoughts, Brother Michael, you want to end with?
Om Shanti. Thank you, Sister Kanapriya. The power of silence is something not to be underestimated. We live in such a busy world. If we can find it in our schedules to just take the time out for yourself. I know, speaking for myself and probably a lot of people I know, we have really good intentions and we try to take care of other people the best we can, and we want to help, and we want to through action, show God's love, with helping. But there's one thing I know I forgot is, in order to help anybody else, like, I have to be good myself, like self-care, And then once I have that self-care part taken, squared away, then I can. You want to bring lightness to the dark. You don't want to bring more darkness to an already dark situation. So, but the biggest thing I learned is, self-care is not selfish.
Yeah.
You can take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly fine. Or not fine. It's absolutely essential if you're going to help, anybody else.
It's sensible.
Right. Exactly.
Help yourself first, and that's such a beautiful message, that first let us help ourselves by connecting with the Supreme, the one God, and then we can bring others closer to Him as well and help them also discover their own highest and their truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so we are past time, and it was a good conversation. For me, I learned many things about your journey, and it was very nice. So thank you, everyone. We can close with a minute of remembrance and silence. Thank you. Have a very good evening, and we'll see you again soon.